Keeping the culture alive.
Read the news every day. From East End to Georgetown, down into West Bay.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands. For the Record is brought to you by Vamped Motors, the only authorized Ford and Toyota dealership serving the Cayman Islands. Cayman Pharmacy Group, with a location in West Bay and professional pharmacy at CTMH Doctors Hospital. The Cayman Pharmacy Group has a location for you just around the corner. Seaboard Marine. With over 35 shipping ports, find your shipping solution by calling 949-4977 or visit seaboardmarine.com for competitive rates. And Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Coming to you live from Radio Cayman Studio.
For the Record.
For the Record. For the Record. Hear from your government officials, independents, and the opposition on issues that matter to you. For the Record. Engage in an open dialogue between residents and lawmakers.
For the Record.
For the Record. For the Record. Informative, impartial, insightful.
This is your talk show.
1-800-534-8255. Your calls, your input. This is For the Record. And now, your host, Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome to For the Record. Today is Monday, the 4th day of February 2019. I trust that everyone had an enjoyable weekend. That you're all raring to go today. Those of you who are already on the road, we ask you to drive cautiously, observe the rules of the road. And for those of you who are still at home, we want you to sit back, enjoy the show this morning. First of all, I want to say, for those of you who have lost loved ones during the course of the week, our sincere condolences go out to you and to your families. To those of you who are celebrating birthdays this month as well, or even today or the week, I want to say to you happy birthday as well. Some notable ones, MLA, former MLA and Minister Mr. Ralston Anglin will celebrate his birthday tomorrow, February 5th. Mr. Robert Powell, he celebrates his birthday tomorrow on February 5th as well. And if you know others, just call in, give Miss Susan the names, and we will give them a shout-out today in advance of their birthday tomorrow, since we don't have a show on Tuesday. Or if not, then we will certainly acknowledge it on Wednesday as well. You know, For the Record is starting to become more of a family show than anything else, despite what our introduction, says also. But anyway, folks, I want to thank you for allowing Radio Cayman and, by extension, For the Record into your homes, into your vehicles as you traverse the busy roads of the Cayman Islands, into your places of work, whether it be an office cubicle or if you're working in the outdoors. Of course, For the Record is a show produced by the staff and management of Radio Cayman, and it is geared towards keeping you abreast of issues as they arise and play out on the local, regional, and international scene. I'm your host, Orrett Connor, and you're welcome to join me every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 7:30 a.m. until 9:30 a.m. Our phone lines are always open. There is always someone there waiting to take your calls. Normally, that beautiful radio voice of Miss Susan Watson. Correction. We now go until 10 o'clock in the morning, so I have to get accustomed to that as well. Our hours have been extended until 10 o'clock. So we go from 7:30 a.m. until 10 o'clock in the morning. You can call us on our toll-free number provided courtesy of Flo. That toll-free number is 1-800-534-8255. You can also call us on 949-8037 and the 949-6990. If you don't like to talk on the telephone, email us at For the Record. That is one word, For the Record, at candw.ky. You can WhatsApp us on 925-3261, where we encourage you to leave us a text message or send us a voice note. The contents of which will be played during the course of the show. And of course, you can follow us on YouTube simply by subscribing to Radio Cayman live stream. It is my pleasure to have in the studio again with me this morning none other than Miss Natalie Urquhart, who is the director of the National Gallery here in the Cayman Islands. Miss Urquhart, good morning. Welcome back to For the Record, and Happy New Year to you as well.
Happy New Year as well. Of course, it's the first time I've been back on your show, and I want to say a very big thank you for having me representing the National Gallery today. For the Record is such an important community radio show, and we're delighted to be here.
Thank you, and we're delighted to have you as well. And as usual, there's very important and interesting things going on at the National Gallery, and I want you to tell our listening and viewing audience about those.
Always something different that's happening at the National Gallery, as you know, and that could be anything from our new exhibition, which is what I'm here to talk about today, but of course all the education programs and events throughout the week that are open free of charge for the whole community, and we really encourage people to come down. If you haven't been to the gallery before, just come and ask us about what's going on. It's really important for us that we keep admission free for everybody. We don't want any barriers to interacting with the arts in Cayman, and we're excited to share that with the community. Of course, today we have a very exciting new project that we're working on called the First Cayman Islands Biennial. This is a large showcase exhibition that's featuring 42 local artists, and it's really focusing on the very latest developments in the contemporary art scene in Cayman. It's a juried process, so this has been a competitive process. The 42 artists that have been selected for exhibition have gone through this juried process, done a fantastic job, and it really is a diverse conversation that's touching on everything from, of course, our grand maritime history, which is a very popular subject, as it should be with our artist community, but even moving on to more contemporary topics, everything from the world that we're living in today and how we all fit into that. Okay, and let's tell our listening and viewing audience about the time frame that this is going to occur. So my job is busy this week. I've got to put up the work of 42 artists. There's 46 artworks in total, many of which are things like larger scale videos and installation and, of course, traditional paintings and sculptures. So I've got my job cut out for me in the next few days. So this week we're mounting the exhibition, and we kick off with a members and guest reception on Friday night. And, of course, we're always interested in welcoming new members to the National Gallery. So if you'd like to hear more about that, come on down and join us for the grand opening on Friday evening. And then we kick off on Saturday morning with the public opening for the day. The hours are 10 to 5 daily, and we're going all the way through to the 4th of May. So it's a 3-month exhibition with a very comprehensive program of education and events around that as well. Okay. Do you want to talk any about some of the local artists and what the exhibitions will be? We don't want to give out too much because we want people to come and see it. But we do want a teaser, don't we? Well, yes. I think what's exciting for me about this exhibition, we're always looking for emerging artists, as well as giving a platform again to our very established artists that we know and love. Of course, we've got many members of the Native Sons, people like Gordon Solomon, Al Ebanks. We're doing a big tribute to Bendel Hydes, who's celebrating 45 years of art making and exhibiting in the Cayman Islands. His first exhibition was 1974 at the Royal Palms Hotel. So 45 years of creating, and an exciting element as well that we're honouring Bendel with this year is the establishment of a sort of national art award that goes along with the biennial for the jurors' selected work. And that's going to be named in honour of Bendel as the Bendel Hydes Award. And that involves a cash prize for the winning artist, a solo exhibition at the National Gallery, and the chance for the gallery to purchase the work for the National Art Collection. Wow. Equally exciting, we have a lot of emerging artists this year exhibiting at the gallery for the very first time. Most of these are Caymanian students away at art school. So they've gone away on a government scholarship to get training in the fine arts. We're seeing people like Brandon Saunders, who people have seen once before at the gallery doing very exciting work, Paige Jordison, Cameron Bridgman. And these are all artists that are under about 23 years of age, but developing this as a profession. So we also have an Emerging Art Award, so for the top piece for the younger artist, and that's going to be a developmental prize. And what we mean by that, rather than a cash award, it's going to be a contribution or a grant towards a training opportunity for that young person. So there's the competitive element, which always brings out the best in the artwork. And 42 in total. So as I mentioned, some of the Native Sons, we've got people like David Bridgman, we've got Shana Carr, Dreddy, who people know and love. And it's a really diverse group of work. And I think people will be very excited to see some of the latest creative minds that are creating in Cayman on display over the next 3 months.
Okay, now you've spoken about scholarships and you've spoken about prizes and everything, and of course there are expenses involved with that. Can you talk about the support that you get from the private sector, the support that you get from the Cayman Islands government to enable the National Gallery to perform some of the services that you do perform?
Thank you so much for that question. It's integral, obviously, to what we do. We're about 50% funded by the Cayman Islands government. So they've obviously been long-term supporters. It's a national institution, so that's a great partnership. For most of our projects, though, we need to seek additional funds from the private sector. And this project is being supported by Butterfield, who are long-term gallery supporters, particularly looking at things like exhibitions and education and helping us develop platforms for creative people in the Cayman Islands. So Butterfield are on board as the lead sponsors of this exhibition, in collaboration, of course, with the Ministry of Health, Environment, Culture and Housing. The programming around the exhibition, the programming that's being directly developed for the exhibition is also sponsored by Butterfield. But of course, beyond that, we have a wide education program that runs throughout the year, starting, as I always say, with toddlers on a Friday morning, which is our Toddlers and Parents program, going all the way through to our, I think the youngest student that we have right now is about 18 months. And our oldest is part of our EY Seniors program, sponsored by Ernst & Young, and 102. So we're very keen to ensure that everybody within that bracket, and even on either side of that bracket, if you're interested, has the chance to get involved in creative education and events at no cost because of these corporate partners. And we have a great after-school program sponsored by Walker's Art Club. Our collections development school tours are sponsored by DART, and we have many more such long-term supporters that have been with the gallery over many years. But of course, we're always looking for new support and partnerships. So if people are interested in getting more involved in helping us ensure that these are free for the community, please let us know by getting in touch with me at the National Gallery.
Okay. Now, while I have you in the studio, I have a question in relation to those persons who are involved with art simply because of the love of it, and those who are involved in it with a combination of the love of art, but at the same time using it to earn a living. What in terms of Cayman, how does that spread out?
Yeah, another great question, and what's been very exciting, I think, during the time that I've been at the gallery, which is going on about 15 years. I was quite terrified when I looked at the years a couple of weeks ago, but as director for 10, that we're really seeing increased opportunity for creatives in Cayman. And of course, when I talk about the arts with an S, I mean everything from dance to music to fashion to film. We've always had architects and designers working in Cayman, but we know that even as a young person myself, growing up here, there was not a lot of opportunity in terms of careers. And when we went through the school system, you know, we were encouraged to go into the financial sector or potentially tourism as the leading pillars of our economy, but the creative pursuits were not as available to us. And yet we have so many creative young people in the Cayman Islands. We have a great program at the National Gallery called National Gallery Creative Careers. It's been running for many years now. And that really does try and connect any young person in the school system coming up through the ranks that is interested in any of those types of careers to come on board at the gallery with some work experience. We have a paid internship program, scholarships, and of course we work with the Cayman Islands government now on the scholarship board to review applications from young people. So we're seeing more of those right across the broad spectrum of the pursuits. But it's no good having people interested if we don't have an infrastructure in Cayman to support that.
Yes.
What is exciting again is that we're seeing more sort of creative entrepreneurs popping up, so smaller businesses, and again needing to support that development of the creative industries, which is a very new economic driver in Caribbean islands across the region, really taking the lead in places like Jamaica and Barbados. And I think we have a lot of opportunity in Cayman to be part of that conversation. So it needs to be twofold. It needs to come from the private sector and the public sector, but then we need the creatives to be out there actually creating the work. But we are seeing a major development in that area, which is wonderful.
Excellent, excellent. So we're going to take a break now. When we return, we will continue the conversation with Miss Natalie Urquhart, who is the director of our National Gallery here in the Cayman Islands. And we're talking about the First Cayman Islands Biennial. But we're going to talk about a few other things as well, including the location of the National Gallery. And with the new roadworks down there, we don't want people to get intimidated in terms of how to access the National Gallery. And we'll talk a bit about that as well. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
The Cayman Islands boasts of a long, colorful, and rich history. In tribute to our roots, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Historical Vignette Series, sponsored by Cayman National Bank. Visit Cayman National Bank today for all of your financial needs. The Cayman Islands, he hath founded it upon the seas.
Pedro St. James holds historical significance for many unique things. The Great House is the location of which the proclamation to end slavery in the British West Indies was read publicly. Following the Slavery Abolition Act passed in 1833, the purchase or ownership of slaves was made illegal within the British Empire. On May 6, 1835, 2 years after the Abolition Act was passed in the United Kingdom, the proclamation was read by Captain Anthony Patt on orders of Lord Sligo, who was the then governor of Jamaica. At the time of the abolition, there were approximately 985 slaves on Grand Cayman who were set free.
Radio Cayman's historical facts vignettes are proudly brought to you by Cayman National, with branches on all 3 Cayman Islands. Visit Cayman National Bank today for all of your financial needs.
540 months.
425 days.
394,200 hours.
45 years.
That's how long we've been committed to serving you, and we won't stop there. Over the years, we have proudly grown with Cayman, making a difference in the community. That's why we're here to stand by you.
We are Cayman National.
And we thank you for standing by us for 45 years and counting.
CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy, formerly known as Professional Pharmacy, would like to thank the Cayman communities for their loyal support these past 18 years. Our staff work towards healthcare excellence and providing the most current and up-to-date training with pharmaceutical care. Thorough background checks and follow-up consultations is only the beginning. Your safety is our concern. Our staff are respected healthcare professionals whose job requires careful and precise calculations. Thank you for being a part of our family and for choosing CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy, where we prepare to provide exceptional care. At CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy, we care about your health.
It's 2019, and you know what they say, new year, new me?
Yeah, Bobo. For me, it's new year, new car.
For real? What you thinking of buying?
The new RAV4 from Vamp Motors. It's one of the safest compact SUVs out there with enough room inside, which is good for my family and convincing my wife we need this. Plus, it's fuel efficient, fun to drive, and on top of that, it's on sale too.
Yeah, and I hear it's one of the best-selling SUVs on the market.
Cause you don't gotta spend more to do more. That's why I'm gonna get mine now, while they have a new stock to select from.
Do more in your RAV4. Save thousands on the all-new 2019 RAV4. Test drive yours today and see why the RAV4 is a best-selling SUV in Cayman. Available only at Vamp Motors, Walkers Road.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
Can you explain what a less than container load is for shipment and what your minimum charge is?
Sure. A less than container load, or LCL, is any overseas shipment that does not require the full space of a container. At Seaboard, we have great rates for small packages. Just let us know the dimensions of your package and we'll help you out from there.
Shipping shore to shore, Seaboard.
Since 1993, Rotary Central has worked diligently each year to provide quality bus shelters to our community. A traveling convenience to our school children, the elderly, young people going to work, guest workers, and visitors using the public bus. We, Rotary Central, help you, our advertisers, make it happen. Your marketing dollar travels a far way. Positioning your message, your product, your services, your presence in over 83 bus shelters. Every dollar you spend, every advert you place helps to build another bus shelter, providing modest comfort for Cayman travelers. Reserve space now on the only billboard medium in the Cayman Islands. Email rotaryshelters@gmail.com. rotaryshelters@gmail.com. The Bus Shelters, a partner in community convenience. Another inspiration program by Rotary Central Cayman Islands.
At Kirk's Home Center, we can make your life much better. We got it all together. We got a great deal in store for you. From cookware to stereos, from power tools to plumbing supplies. Yeah, we got the best goods with the best price and a service to make you smile.
Kirk's Home Center, we got a great deal in store for you.
System 1 loaded.
1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the Record.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. It is my pleasure to have in the studio with me this morning Ms. Natalie Urquhart, who is the director of the National Gallery here in the Cayman Islands. And before we talk about the location, we have a question on our WhatsApp, and it says, good morning. I want to find out if they're still accepting exhibits or has it been closed off, the period for exhibits?
Thank you for your question. It has been closed off because we're actually just about to finish mounting the exhibition, and it's such a large show that we're actually spilling out into the corridor in between the two gallery spaces. But for anyone that is interested in getting more involved in the gallery, maybe not with this exhibition, but please come and visit us at the gallery and see myself, Simon or William, who all work in exhibitions, to find out about how you can get involved. This was actually put out there through an open call process last September.
Wow.
With the deadlines of November because we had the juried process. So also look out for jumping on the National Gallery website for these kind of open calls, or come and see us and we can put you on our artist database if you're not already on it. Okay.
And do you have any means of them registering, subscribing, and getting notifications from the National Gallery in terms of when events are taking place, if they wanted to do that as well?
Yes, absolutely. So that's the artist database that I was referencing. That's a specific database for artists, so it's a little bit different from the general membership database, although we do have free membership for any artist in Cayman that would like to join. That's a way that we can support and ensure that they have these the connection to this sort of open call knowledge. And again, come on down and we can tell you all sorts of ways of getting more involved and how to get involved in exhibiting.
Excellent, excellent. Now let's talk about your location. And we know the roads of Cayman Islands are getting busier and busier, while at the same time they're starting to expand. We've gone from little dirt tracks, horse tracks, to 3-lane highways and whatnot now.
Super highways.
The National Gallery is located on the Harkwell Bypass, I think it's called.
Formerly the Harkwell Bypass, and I do want to give
it's no longer named
Esterly Tibbetts Highway, and of course it is really a highway now with the 3 lanes going on. We have to be all drive safely on that road because it's a lot of speeding cars going down it. But of course, Mrs. Harkwell was the benefactress of both that area and the National Gallery land, and of course the land that the National Culture Foundation sits on. And she was a visionary, I think, for the arts and culture, and creating a home to preserve and develop our culture in the Cayman Islands. A very important person in that conversation. So just off the Esterly Tibbetts Highway, we have an entrance on that highway, but we also work with the Culture Foundation, and we have a connecting driveway. So if you're looking for a slightly quieter way of entering the National Gallery site, we're very grateful to the Cayman Islands Culture Foundation for allowing us entrance through their site from Lawrence Boulevard in the other way. And you can enter and exit on both of those points.
Okay. Now, I know, Ms. Urquhart, that you have so graciously ceded some of your time for us to accommodate other guests because there was some scheduling conflict or some issues with it, and we're certainly going to be accommodating other guests as well. But I want to give you an opportunity to ensure that we highlight all of the important points and get your message across to our listening and viewing audience.
Thank you. Well, I just want to again reiterate that everybody is welcome to come out and join us. I think it's a really important showcase of what's happening in the contemporary art scene in Cayman. Both in terms of preserving our historical stories and grappling with some of those challenges that we're facing as a community. I mean, arts is a really safe platform through which to encourage dialogue around things, as you just pointed out, like development, changing cultures, changing immigrations, all sorts of different things that are affecting us as a community. It's our artists that are really grappling and talking about that. Great chance to come down and see what they're thinking about. We have a very large education program. Again, for the caller that was talking about exhibiting, this is really focused on developing professionalism in the art scene. So how to get in contact to put exhibitions up, how to develop a portfolio, how to find a gallerist through which to sell your work. And we've got visiting curators and professionals coming into Cayman to open up the conversation further about how to connect internationally with your work. So a lot of great opportunities for artists to come down and do some professional development. I'll be getting involved in those myself as well. There's always a chance to get involved in professional development.
Yes.
And, you know, the important thing is this is a tri-island project. So I think you know now that we have satellite spaces in Cayman Brac and Little Cayman. We'll be taking part of this exhibition to those spaces and also having events and workshops in Cayman Brac and Little Cayman as part of the 3-month process as well.
Do we have specific dates for those? No, because I know those people in the Brac, they want to hear what's happening over there.
Well,
because they sometimes they feel that they're being left out of the whole Cayman Islands equation, you know.
And you know, it's really important for us. We've had a long-running 2 programs in the Brac, the after-school arts club for primary school students, Walker's Art Club, every week. That's been running for about 10 years. And we're also collaborating with Simone Scott and her art site to re-energize the Saturday morning art club as well. So again, immediately if you're in the Brac and you want to get involved in the art conversation, go and check out what Simone's doing at Walton's Mango Manor. And then we'll be rolling out our schedule on the National Gallery website, which is nationalgallery.org.ky. And again, you can call any of us. We have a great team at the gallery there to help at 945-8111.
Okay, I want to give you an opportunity for some closing comments as well, Ms. Urquhart.
Well, just a very big thank you to our partners Butterfield and the Ministry of Culture and, of course, all of the 42 artists. Too many to mention by name. We'd be here all day. I wouldn't be able to give my slot up. But I also heard in the break that it might be your birthday tomorrow, too.
Oh, no one's supposed to know that.
Happy birthday to Orrett Connor, who would not be sharing that on the radio. That was for me to do. I hope you have a wonderful day. And we'll be back over the next 3 months to talk a bit more about the education programs around the first Cayman Biennial. And also about, what else the National Gallery is doing in terms of getting out there into the community.
And we certainly look forward to having you here again. And if there's no space, we will make space to have the National Gallery on here
Thank
also.
You
because
so
we owe you some time anyway for for this
the
morning.
Cancer Registry is a really critical part of our community, and a big shout out to all of the team working behind that.
Well, a big shout out to your team as well. Lots of work, for you to do, as well. And thank you for the great job that you're doing so far. And I'm sure that the people of the Cayman Islands are appreciative of the work that is being done by the National Gallery as well. That is one way that we can certainly keep the Cayman Islands alive, keep our history
It's critical,
alive
and it's becoming
as well.
more so, isn't it? We have an urgent need to ensure that we're preserving our heritage.
Okay, all the best. Take care, folks. Please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back after the 8 o'clock news. And just want to remind you now that the news only runs for a maximum period of 10 minutes. And, of course, For the Record will go on until 10 o'clock as opposed to 9:30. So please stay tuned. Don't change that dial. For the Record will be back shortly.
Thank you, Mr. Connor. And studio time now by Price Right is 7:59.
Price Right is Grand Cayman's warehouse shopping superstore, making your dollar go further with huge savings and no membership fees. Get more of the things you use every day at the right price. But it's not just grocery and health and beauty. Price Right has a full range of products from office to automotive, patio furnishings to kitchen appliances, and even electronics. And since warehouse prices mean savings for you, everything is priced right at Price Right, Grand Cayman's warehouse shopping superstore.
The voice of the Cayman Islands.
89.9 FM in Grand Cayman and 93.9 FM in Cayman Brac and Little Cayman.
Silver wings shining in the sunlight.
Radio Cayman.
Access. Information. Your community. News and information. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
With your latest news, I'm Carsley Fuller. The Joint Marine Unit assists several paddleboarders in distress. Radio Cayman's April Cummings has the details.
Shortly after 7 o'clock last Thursday, the 911 Communications Center dispatched officers to check out a report of 2 people in distress in the water off West Bay Public Beach. Police say 2 people on a paddleboard were drifting out to sea and couldn't get back to shore. Officers from the Joint Marine Unit were deployed to assist on the MV Typhoon. Fortunately, officers say people on the paddleboard were able to communicate because they had a mobile phone. They were instructed to turn on the phone's flashlight, which helped make it easier for the Joint Marine Unit officers to find them and help them get safely back to shore. Brad Ebanks of the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service says the incident shows just how easy it is to get into a dangerous situation while involved in water-related activities. And he says that's why it is always advisable to carry some means of communication with you, since it is one of the tools that can help ensure your safety if you get into trouble on the waters. April Cummings, Radio Cayman News.
Community policing officers in 3 Boddentown neighborhoods host the department's first crime prevention workshops of the year. During the presentation, officers demonstrated new and compact alarm devices for home and property, as well as pin alarms that can be worn while exercising outside to enhance personal safety. Alongside demonstrations of new technology, officers also emphasized the importance of neighborhood watches to reduce crime and also improve the quality of life in the area. Royal Cayman Islands Police Service officers told community members that since spring 2017, when Boddentown had a high burglary rate, several new neighborhood watches have been launched, bringing the total number in the district to 14. Police say as a result, the district has seen the number of burglaries fall. And it's love in action for students at Cayman Academy who recently donated more than $4,000 to the Cancer Society.
Our core value for January was love, and so we thought of a tangible way of expressing this, and we came up with sponsorship for the Cancer Society. Went down in our pink and purple, and we were greeted by the staff there who are accustomed to having us at this time of year. Okay. And sang for them and expressed our gratitude in being able to partner with them.
Chairperson of the School Charities Committee, Sophia Hamilton, says they're elated to help alleviate the financial stress brought to bear on the patients and their families with cancer.
We have family members, friends, church family members who are afflicted with cancer, and they are beneficiaries, and we're just so happy to be able to do this and do work together for the good of our island.
Mrs. Hamilton says the school has consistently made substantial annual donations to the Cancer Society. This year, the school broadened its efforts to include the Alzheimer's Association as part of its annual charity contribution. Now with a check of international news, here's the BBC who will take us out of the newscast. I'm Carsley Fuller from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
BBC News. In a coordinated move, leading European countries have recognized the Venezuelan opposition leader Juan Guaido as the interim head of state after President Nicolás Maduro rejected their demand for fresh elections. The Spanish Prime Minister, Pedro Sánchez, said Mr. Guaido's democratic legitimacy stemmed from his role as Speaker of the Venezuelan National Assembly, chosen during the last democratic elections. The Iraqi President Barham Saleh says Donald Trump did not ask Iraq's permission for American troops stationed there to monitor Iran's activities. He was responding to comments over the weekend by the US President that one of the reasons to keep the American presence in Iraq was to watch Tehran. Pope Francis has been given a lavish welcome in the United Arab Emirates at the start of the first ever papal visit to the Arabian Peninsula, the historic heartland of the Islamic faith. Later, he'll deliver a speech at a gathering of leaders of different faiths. A group of British MPs has endorsed reports that women's rights activists detained in Saudi Arabia have been tortured. The panel concluded that detainees had endured cruel and degrading treatment and that authority figures at the highest levels could be responsible. Saudi officials deny that torture is allowed in the kingdom's jails. BBC News.
Access. What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
The 15th annual Cayman Economic Outlook returns on February 28th for another year of educating, informing, and stimulating the local community, bringing together industry thought leaders and business professionals to explore their theme, Dynamic New World, Braving the Turmoil. Speakers include economist Norina Hertz, University of Oxford professor Ian Golden, digital revolution journalist Andreas Ekstrom, biotechnology futurist Jamie Metzel, and professional surfer Mark Matthews. Tickets are selling fast. Reserve your seat at rfceo.ky.
Flowers bottled water, the cooler water. Flowers offers free weekly delivery to your home or office and is available at select gas stations and convenience stores. Flowers bottled water, the original Cayman Islands bottled water since 1974. Flowers bottled water carries the Certificate of Excellence in Manufacturing Award. Flowers bottled water. Call them at 949-8688. From Flowers bottled water and the Flowers Group of Companies, have a happy new year and lots of blessings to all.
Hi, I'm Dawn McLean Brady, President of the Cayman Islands Small Business Association, better known as CISPA. Small businesses drive Cayman's economy. As small business owners, we depend on government to create an environment where we, as entrepreneurs, can do what we do best, and that's to provide products and services that are valuable to our customers and, in turn, employ others. The cruise piers and cargo ports provide these opportunities. Encourage our government to build a port and let the Caymanian entrepreneurial spirit shine. Support the port, support our tourism.
Pleasant good morning, and time now for the latest weather report. Current temperature is 74 degrees. Relative humidity is 97%. Barometric pressure 29.97 inches and rising. Wind is east-northeast at 4 knots. Overnight low temperature was 70 degrees. Synopsis indicate light winds and slight seas expected over the Cayman area for the next 24 hours in association with a weak pressure gradient across the northwest Caribbean. Radar images show isolated showers within the Cayman area, which are drifting towards the west. Now the forecast for today and tonight, calling for partly cloudy skies with a 20% chance of showers, and temperatures will rise to the mid-80s today and fall to the low 70s tonight. Winds will be east to northeast at 5 to 10 knots, and seas will be slight with wave heights of 1 to 3 feet. High tide will be this afternoon at 12:30, low tide tonight at 9 minutes past 7. The sun will set this evening at 6:18 and will rise tomorrow morning at 6:59. And the outlook is calling for similar weather conditions through Wednesday morning, with winds becoming moderate to fresh and seas becoming moderate to rough by that time. Good morning once again. Let's take a look what's happening traffic-wise. Busy traffic coming from the east on Shamrock Road and also on the Linford Pearson Highway. Slight delays expected this morning. Steady traffic coming off of Bobby Thompson Way. Traffic is busy in some sections and moderate in other sections of Crew Road. Little steady further into town. On Godfrey Nixon Way and Eastern Avenue, traffic flowing moderately in both directions. And moderate flow of traffic on the West Bay Road. North Sound Road not looking too bad as traffic is moderate. Edward Street, light to moderate traffic flow, and light traffic on Owen Roberts Drive. That's what's happening on your roads. Join us again At about 10 minutes after 12, we'll update you traffic-wise. Have a good morning and buckle up.
Go Cocoa Nuts with Cocoa Fest at Pedro Castle. On February 9th from 12 to 6 p.m., indulge in all kind of coconut ting. There's coconut-inspired cooked food, treats, fresh coconut water, crafts, games, music, and watch our coconut plant demonstrations. Admission is only $5 and free for kids under 12. Proceeds from each entry fee benefit Meals on Wheels Cayman. So if you like coconut, come to Cocoa Fest. Pedro Castle, February 9th. For event details, check us out on Facebook. This event is brought to you by Fidelity Bank. We're good for you.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. And of course, I'm sure that all of you, while you appreciate the news that we bring you on Radio Cayman, those of you who want to hear For the Record also appreciate the fact that we have shortened the news now, so maximum of 10 minutes for the news. This way we don't run the risk of losing you during the course of the show. And we've done even more. We've made it until 10 o'clock as well. This way, again, you don't have to change the dial, even though most of you don't change that dial when it comes to 9:30, because you listen to Miss Susan bringing you all of that nice music as well. Enough for the talk. I have a few more birthdays that I want to mention as well. And John Andrews celebrating a birthday today as well. And from his wife and son, mother, brother, and the rest of the family, they want to wish you a happy birthday as well. And Rosemary Moxham, her birthday was on the 30th of January also. And I think we have another one. I'll get that for you. Someone else celebrating a birthday today. Mine wasn't supposed to be mentioned. Rosemary Moxham and Melinda. Melinda's birthday is today, and Melinda is also, her surname is also Moxham as well, and she's celebrating a birthday as well. And mine is on February the 5th, 2020, not 2019. I just don't celebrate birthdays anymore. But enough for that. We want to talk about the Cayman Islands Cancer Registry, and it is my pleasure to have in the studio with me this morning Miss Amanda Nicholson, who is the Cancer Registrar at the Health Services Authority. And we also have with us Dr. Basil Armoni. He's a medical oncologist full-time at the Cayman Islands Health Services Authority. So, Ms. Nicholson and Dr. Armonis, welcome to For the Record.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to start with Dr. Nicholson, and tell us a little bit about yourself. You want to introduce, sorry, Miss Nicholson. I just, gave you a medical degree as well. But we want to tell our listening and viewing audience a little bit about yourself and about the work that you do.
Sure. The Cayman Islands Cancer Registry is a population-based registry, which means that we're trying to get cancer surveillance data for the entire population of the Cayman Islands. And the way that we do that is we ask any cancer survivors in Cayman to take just a couple minutes of their time and provide some information to us. And the information we collect is very basic. It's mostly demographic. It's the kind of thing you know off the top of your head. So anyone who wants to join the registry doesn't need to go out and get their medical records or paw through lots of information. It's really just a quick and easy thing to do. And it's very beneficial to us because it's how we see what cancer trends look like within our community. So it lets us see how many people get cancer every year, what kinds of cancer are the most common. We can also check and see if there are certain geographic areas in the Cayman Islands that have higher rates than others. Mm-hmm. And we can compare cancer trends to other countries. So it's really helpful to us whenever someone takes their time to participate.
Okay. Dr. Armonis?
Good morning.
Good morning again. With the Cayman Islands being so small, you would think that getting that information, collating it, and at the same time analyzing the data would be easy. But if we don't get sufficient information, and sometimes when a registry is voluntary, it makes it a little bit more difficult for you to get the information that you want to get. But how do you balance that between people voluntarily providing it and at the same time forcing people legislating for that people should do it?
Well, let me say first that Cayman Islands started to move forward in the right way dealing with the cancer epidemic. So our legislators, our government and our HSA started implementing a cancer policy which is well organized. I have been provided with all the necessary tools from their sides to do my job properly. One excellent tool in terms of not only prevention but also to implementing the necessary policies to deal with cancer epidemic is the cancer registry. But nevertheless, I would say that being that on a voluntary basis, it's not the right thing to do, because cancer survivors, cancer people have to deal with a lot of other practical problems at the same time rather than getting registered into the registry. So my personal opinion is that this registration should have been or should be in the near future compulsory, mandatory, and it will be a kind of changing legislation in Cayman, as it is already in other organized health systems elsewhere.
And in making this legislation, in crafting it, making it mandatory that the information is at least collected one way or the other, how do you do that and also ensure the patient that their privacy will still be restored?
Well, typically, the way cancer registries work in most countries is you just have, when someone's diagnosed with cancer, a health official or a pathologist simply puts the information into a database. Okay. So it's already there. And it's completely confidential. No one sees it outside the registry. The only information that would be shared would be aggregate data, like percentages. For example, this percentage of cancer diagnoses were breast cancer in 2017. So when we talk about automatic reporting, we don't necessarily mean that cancer survivors have to register. What we mean is that the burden doesn't fall on them at all. Yes. It's something that doctors simply put the information into a database, and then you have your information. So it takes the burden off of the cancer survivor, and it makes for a very easy, streamlined process, and you're capturing every case of cancer in those instances. So what we would need to have happen here is for legislation to pass which would allow for that. There was a bill introduced in 2015 which is with government, but I don't believe it's currently being tabled. So it's a conversation that's been had. But I would encourage anyone who is in support of that to write to health officials and let them know they're in favor.
Okay. Have we done any survey in relation to those who may be in favor of it and those who are against it? What we're seeing in the Cayman Islands now, for instance, is that at one time people would say, a family member has the big C. They were even reluctant to call it the name cancer. And but yet people were asking questions. Why is there such a high, and that was based on their feeling, such a high cancer rate in the Cayman Islands? Is it coming from the water? Does it have anything to do with aerial spraying of mosquitoes? And they wanting to know all of these things, but at the same time, some reluctance for government to collect the information that will inform them better inform them in terms of what's taking place.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, I think people do want the information, but people are concerned about their confidentiality, as they should be. But cancer registries are always confidential. And what you said about does Cayman have more cancer than other places? We hear that so much.
Yes.
I think when it comes to understanding cancer trends, that's the number one question people have. But the fact is, right now, we don't know the answer to that.
Dr. Armonis, we're seeing more and more now, though, in the atrium at the Health Services Authority. You see the photographs of people who are cancer survivors, breast cancer survivors, whatever. So we're starting to see the faces of those persons who have been affected by it, those who have been successful in battling cancer as well. How can we keep that enthusiasm going, getting more people to come forward, getting people to be spokespersons for these things? How can we continue to do that?
Well, let me say first that today we celebrate World Cancer Day. It is February the 4th, which is worldwide World Cancer Day. And this means that we should work hardly not only to offer proper prevention and treatment for cancer, but also to battle against misinformation and misconceptions related to cancer, which are deeply rooted in many societies, in the Caymanian society as well. So cancer should be demystified, and cancer should be dealt as a condition which is not something to be ashamed of, but to try and tackle this epidemic, and this needs the collective work of everybody. That means not only of doctors and cancer registry or government, but the society itself. I should say that Caymanian society is very supportive in terms of supporting our job, and we have a lot of volunteers. We have a lot of social stakeholders being with us in this battle, but we do need every single patient, every single survivor, every single family in Cayman being along with us in this battle.
Okay. Now, Ms. Nicholson, off there, we spoke about the fact that Jamaica was introducing a cancer registry as well. Now, and part of one of the ads on their website, they speak about numbers and pointed out that cancers accounted for 3,538 or 19.3% of total deaths in Jamaica. That was in 2016, while the World Health Organization International Agency for Cancer Research estimates that for 2018 there will be 7,348 new cases of cancers in Jamaica. Are we in a position here in the Cayman Islands to provide those types of numbers based on the way that we collect information now?
Not at the moment, no. We have not quite 450 cases in the cancer registry, which is still a pretty small number. So, no, at the moment we're not in a position to generate statistics like that. But hopefully in the future we will be.
Okay. Ms. Susan, you want to take a commercial break now, or we'll continue to talk? Dr. Armonis, I know I've been asking a lot of questions, but I know at the same time that you have an agenda set out as well, and I want you to be able to follow that agenda as well, in terms of what you want to discuss.
Let me also add to what Mrs. Nicholson said, that cancer registry is not just only have statistics of what happened. It is a very impressive tool in managing things in the future and implementing the right policy to tackle this cancer epidemic. So it is an investment for our society. It is an investment for our families and for our children. Yes. So it is a very important thing supporting the cancer registry's function in the Cayman Islands.
Okay. Now, in this article also, they point out, Ms. Nicholson, that the main sources for the data that in Jamaica, for instance, they include laboratory reports, medical records, and death certificates, and they point out that these data are collected and collated using standardized forms and procedures, then entered into an information system for storage, management, and analysis. It goes on to say the registry, meanwhile, has been made possible with support from key partners, including the Pan American Health Organization, Barbados Cancer Registry, and the Caribbean Cancer Registry Hub as well. So they have the support of regional as well as international organizations in developing theirs.
Absolutely. The International Agency for Research on Cancer has established cancer registry hubs all over the world, and I think one of their newest ones is the one here in the Caribbean. And they are strongly encouraging all Caribbean nations to develop comprehensive cancer registries, because cancer is the second leading cause of death worldwide, and it's only expected to increase. So you need those hubs and those registries to arm yourself with information. You need a foundation of knowledge if you're going to do everything possible in terms of prevention and management. And from what you said, it sounds like the Jamaican Cancer Registry is following a pretty standard format, the way most registries do. You look at your laboratory results, your pathology reports, and that's how you get your information for your database.
Okay, we're going to take a commercial break. When we return, the conversation with Dr. Armonis and Miss Amanda Nicholson talking about the cancer registry here in the Cayman Islands will continue, so please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
It's 2019, and you know what they say, new year, new me?
Yeah, Bobo. For me, it's new year, new car.
For real? What you thinking of buying?
The new RAV4 from Vant Motors. It's one of the safest compact SUVs out there with enough room inside, which is good for my family and convincing my wife we need this. Plus, it's fuel efficient, fun to drive, and on top of that, it's on sale too.
Yeah, and I hear it's one of the best-selling SUVs on the market.
Cause you don't gotta spend more to do more. That's why I'm gonna get mine now, while they have a new stock to select from.
Do more in your RAV4. Save thousands on the all-new 2019 RAV4. Test drive yours today and see why the RAV4 is a best-selling SUV in Cayman. Available only at Vant Motors, Walkers Road.
Since 1993, Rotary Central has worked diligently each year to provide quality bus shelters to our community. A traveling convenience to our school children, the elderly, young people going to work, guest workers, and visitors using the public bus. We, Rotary Central, help you, our advertisers, make it happen. Your marketing dollar travels a far way. Positioning your message, your product, your services, your presence in over 83 bus shelters. Every dollar you spend, every advert you place helps to build another bus shelter, providing modest comfort for Cayman travelers. Reserve space now on the only billboard medium in the Cayman Islands. Email rotaryshelters@gmail.com. rotaryshelters@gmail.com. The Bus Shelters, a partner in community convenience. Another inspiration program by Rotary Central Cayman Islands.
Healthcare Pharmacy in Governor Square and Grand Harbor has the largest and the best collection of Hallmark and Shoebox Valentine's Day cards. Poetic cards, serious cards, seriously funny cards, fabulous cards, and the perfect card for your Valentine. Healthcare Pharmacy also has Hallmark gift boxes, brand name perfume and cologne sets, home spa kits, and quotable quotes for your Valentine. So this year, make it a perfect Valentine's Day with Healthcare Pharmacy, Grand Harbor and Governor Square.
Hello, I'm Joseph Woods, the Acting Port Director. Our port facility is the hub of the Cayman Islands commerce and economic activity, handling $658 million in imported goods annually. From groceries to construction materials, all sectors of our economy depend on the port. But it is now 40 years old. Its infrastructure is degrading, and we feel the strain from insufficient space for both cargo and cruise operations. The time is now. A new expanded port facility is needed to allow both cargo and cruise to operate efficiently and to support our island's continued growth and development. Support the port, support our tourism, support Cayman's continued growth and development.
System 1 loaded.
1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the record.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. It is my pleasure to have in the studio with me Dr. Basil Armonis, who's the medical oncologist, full-time medical oncologist with the Cayman Islands Health Services Authority. We also have with us Ms. Amanda Nicholson, who's the cancer registrar at the Health Services Authority, and we're talking about a cancer registry here in the Cayman Islands. We have one question from one of our listeners, and that person says, how can a person say that they are cancer-free? Because in some instances, a person may have been enjoying or has been enjoying cancer-free time only to have it return. And the question is, what really is cancer-free to a patient? Doctor.
Well, cancer-free is the period time elapsed from diagnosis and treatment until disease either it is back, or we can pronounce this patient cured from cancer. To be pronounced a patient cancer-free, they need to have a proper follow-up, which will be crafted and advised by their doctors, the specialist doctors, medical oncologists, surgical oncologists, or whatever oncologist is involved in their care. To be pronounced a patient cancer-free, they do need so to have proper follow-up, which is a matter of having regular laboratory investigations. Sometimes they do need to have some scans, etc. And then after a period of time, which depends on the diagnosis, that means what type of cancer was diagnosed to that specific patient, they can be pronounced cancer-free for life. That means cured by cancer if a sufficient time has lapsed since they became tumor-free, cancer-free.
Okay.
So the base of everything is a proper follow-up.
Okay. Thank you very much for that, Doctor. We're going to go back to Ms. Nicholson, and we want to talk more about getting information from people and how do we encourage people to provide that information in the absence of a mandatory registry. Because in order for you to use people's information, you have to get their permission to do so. And how, again, do we go about assuring them? Number one, whatever is held in confidence, but number two, the importance of getting that information, because it will not only help them, it may help other family members as well, but it'll help the whole population of the Cayman Islands in terms of the information provided that will be able to be analyzed for beneficial purposes.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest barriers that we run into with cancer registration is that people assume we already have their information. I can't tell you how many times I've heard that from registrants. They'll say, well, I was diagnosed at the Cayman Islands Hospital, so you've got my information. Or I've been to the Cancer Society and I filled out all those documents, so you must have my information. I think the idea that cancer survivors would need to provide the information themselves is maybe a little foreign to people. You know, we're so used to just having this information there, we don't think about where it comes from or how you get it. So I think it's important to let people know that unless you have actually come to the registry, we don't have your data. And it is very important, because if we want to understand cancer trends like Jamaica or the U.S. or Canada or anywhere else, this is what it takes. And it is confidential. It's stored in a database which is password protected. No one has access except for the registrar. The information isn't shared with anyone outside of the registry. And getting registered is easy. We've made this such a simple process over the years. If someone wants to register, they can come to my office on the 3rd floor of the Smith Road Center. Or if they want to do this really quick and easy, visit the Health Services Authority's website, the Cancer Society's website, or the Breast Cancer Foundation. they all have a data collection form on their website, which you can print off, fill out, and send back. And it's easy. It's a single page. Folks can also call me. My number is 244-2560, so we make the process as simple as we can.
Okay. Now, in relation to legislation or the lack thereof of legislation, in providing advice to legislators, would the process be easy if during the course of either an examination or otherwise there was some consent form that was completed, some indication given by the patient that I give permission for this information to be used or to be logged, registered into the cancer registry? I mean, we look at some jurisdictions and they make voting obligatory. You legally you have to vote, or legally you have to be a registered. You have to register as a voter even if you don't vote. And there's some jurisdictions that you're obligated to register and then you're obligated to vote as well. But something so important as health, as a person's health, and contributing to knowing the causes, of cancer and things of that nature, we're a little bit more blasé about it, a little bit more liberal. And you understand legislators not wanting to step on people's toes. We understand that in this day and age, the whole right to privacy, but at the same time, people will allow Facebook to use, their information, for not necessarily productive purposes, as far as the individual is concerned. How do we get around that mentality?
Well, I think, the reason that countries have cancer registries where data is automatically sent there, they bypass the whole filling out consent forms and things. They bypass that and have the information go directly there because cancer is the second biggest killer worldwide. And if we really want to tackle this, and cancer is preventable, if you have the right information, these things can be prevented. But you've got to know what's happening first. You've got to know what's going on. So it's so important that countries go ahead and they put guidelines in place so that pathologists or doctors can just send the information right to the registry and we know what's going on because it's that serious.
Okay. Now, Doc, you spoke about the fact that today begins, is it Cancer Awareness Week or month?
It is
World Cancer Day. Sorry, World Cancer Day. Yes, I'd like you to talk a little bit more about that, what we're doing here in the Cayman Islands in relation to it as well.
Well, we do and we should do whatever other people do elsewhere, in the whole world. It is a day of social awareness against this epidemic because cancer is a world epidemic. For example, last year we did have 18 million people worldwide diagnosed with cancer. And we did have some around 10 million people dead by this disease last year. But nevertheless, we have to also consider that 1/3, that means 3.5 million of cancer deaths could have been prevented by implementing the correct strategy to tackle this epidemic. So it is a day we should struggle to convince ourselves to be more active, to participate more in this battle, and to also tell our government, to tell our legislators to adopt policies that will be more effective in doing so.
Okay, our listener, a follow-up to your answer in relation to patients having a follow-up, and the individual says, does that mean that a person should have a blood test every 6 months and for how many years in terms of the blood test? How often?
Well, it is not a matter only to having blood tests or CT scans or anything else. We cannot be very precise on the type of follow-up people need, because there is not one size fits all. It depends on the type of cancer and the stage of cancer and the treatment they did have, etc., etc. So it will be a personalized, more or less a personalized plan of follow-up of those people.
And they had a comment in relation, or a question in relation to chemotherapy as well, whether or not it affects a person's heart function. I guess that would depend on the heart condition and the individual as well.
Well, more or less, it depends on the drugs used for having chemotherapy. There are some drugs, few of them, that they may affect heart function. But we at the HSA have a standard policy investigating the health status and the heart status of our patients before starting chemotherapy, so as to ensure that everybody will be on the safe side.
Okay. Want to talk a little bit more about the cancer registry itself, Ms. Nicholson, and are there any important points that we haven't covered yet that you want to cover?
No, I think I'd like to say one more time that we encourage all cancer survivors to take a minute and think about joining the registry. I'm always happy to talk to people. If you're not really sure if it's for you or if it's something you want to do, I'd say give me a call and we can have a conversation about it and get registered.
Okay. Can you provide them with contact numbers? And I know you've given your location at the Smith Road Center.
Sure.
As well.
Yes, the phone number is 244-2560, and I am in the office from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. most days, so I'm always happy to speak with folks.
And people don't have to wait until legislation is in place in relation to a cancer registry. They can do it without the legislation.
Yes. People can register anytime, whenever they want. And if, like I mentioned earlier, if people are busy, you don't have a lot of time, you don't necessarily have to come to the office. You can just print off the forms from Cancer Society's website or the Health Services Authority's website and complete it on your own time from the comfort of your home.
And in relation to individuals, children who are under the age of majority, the parents would do that on their behalf as well, because we do have, childhood cancers as well.
Absolutely. Yes, if a parent wants to register their child, they can absolutely do that. If the child's under 18, we would need the parent to provide their consent.
Okay. Dr. Armonis, any closing comments that you would like to provide and encouragement as a doctor as well?
Well, I must say to our listeners, that we at the Cayman Islands HSA provide to cancer patients all the necessary treatments they do need. We provide them with excellent surgery. We provide them with chemotherapy, having in place an amazing, well-trained and experienced multidisciplinary chemotherapy team, and we provide them whatever they do need for having oncology assessment, second opinion consultations, transfer of care for those they do want to have their care transferred from overseas, and we do have in place follow-up care for those patients requesting that. So if they do decide to join us at the HSA, they will be welcome, and they will have proper treatment and management as they deserve to have.
Okay. Now, I want to thank this listener because they keep providing us with questions here. And while we don't want to have a public consultation, I think whatever information that we pass on here may not only be beneficial to them, but other listeners as well. And this person has asked, please explain stage 1 triple breast cancer.
Triple negative, possibly. It is a local breast cancer that means which is potentially curable, not expressing estrogen or progesterone receptors, and not having overexpression of the HER2 gene. This is a very specific situation. It is kind of biologically diverse breast cancer, having kind of biologic aggressiveness, but nevertheless, if patients are managed properly and after a certain time of follow-up being free of disease, we are more able to say that those people are not only disease-free, but probably cured from cancer if a shorter time frame elapsed from diagnosis on. So this is pretty much all about, in synthesis, about stage 1, which is local again, triple-negative breast cancer.
Okay. I want to thank you both for being here. Thank you for being so patient, despite the little mix-up that we had. But because of our extended hours, we were able to accommodate you. I want to wish you all the best, and anything that we can do here For the Record in terms of promoting cancer awareness, promoting the cancer registry, and encouraging people to allow their information to be used, assuring them that their privacy will be preserved as well. We'll be more than grateful to provide the services here and For the Record as well. Folks, please stay tuned. For the Record will be back shortly, where we have other guests scheduled as well. So don't change that dial. Please stay tuned. And for those of you who are hoping that we will have open mic at some point in time, yes, we're going to provide a little spot there for you to have your say also. So don't change that dial. For the Record will be back shortly.
Since March 2004, West Bay Pharmacy has kept their doors open to the local communities, even before, during, and after Hurricane Ivan. At West Bay Pharmacy, our staff provides so much more than pharmaceutical excellence. From the moment you walk through our doors to completing your cash out, our staff will have put your healthcare concerns at ease. We would like to take this moment to thank our loyal friends and customers. To us at West Bay Pharmacy, our patients are our primary concern. We provide thorough background checks and precise calculations to ensure your medical safety. Thank you for being a part of our family and for choosing West Bay Pharmacy, where we care about your health.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
Hi, I'm thinking of buying a car from the States. Which port do you ship out of?
Hi, we ship out of Miami, Houston, and Brooklyn. Just let us know your port of choice and we can provide you with a quotation and answer any questions you may have on insuring and protecting your vehicle during its journey.
Shipping shore to shore, Seaboard.
At KFC, we believe you don't have to share a last name to be a family. Whether it's an office party, holiday fete, or family gathering, enjoy KFC's fresh, hand-breaded finger-licking good chicken. The KFC Festive Feast includes 10 pieces of original recipe or spicy chicken, creamy mashed potatoes, tasty coleslaw, and warm biscuits. KFC's holiday catering menu includes buckets of hot wings, sweet chili wings, or chicken tenders. KFC, it's finger-licking good.
Radio Command, and this is how we wake you up.
Sing praises unto God, sing praises. Come on, sing praises unto God, sing praises. Hallelujah. Lord, I thank you for sunshine, thank you for rain, thank you for joy, thank you for pain. It's a beautiful day.
Praise time on Radio Command.
Praising you down.
Praise time.
Jesus in the morning. I will. So send me, Lord. I will go. Born again. Thank God I'm born again.
Weekday mornings from 6 until 6:30.
For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the Record with Orrett Connor continues right now on Radio Command.
Good morning, and welcome back to For the Record. Busy morning here on For the Record, but that's how we like it. We like to be busy, and of course we don't want to leave out our listening and viewing audience as well. So we're going to find some period of time for open mic this morning for you to talk as well. But it is my pleasure to have in the studio with me now MLA and Councillor Mr. Austin Harris. Also, we have with us Ms. Sharon Rolston and Mr. Charles Clifford. And so that I don't make any mistakes in terms of their new designation, I'm going to ask MLA Mr. Austin Harris to introduce Mr. Clifford and Ms. Sharon Rolston. Mr. Harris.
Good morning to you, OC, and good morning to the listening audience. Happy Monday. Yes, it is my pleasure to be with you this morning with my two colleagues to my left. Starting, of course, ladies first. Ms. Sharon Ralston is the Interim Director for Workforce Opportunities Residency Cayman, which had a soft launch on Friday. And to her immediate left, the new Director of the Customs and Border Control in his very, very catchy, flashy, brand new uniform, looking very sharp, none other than Mr. Charles Clifford.
I didn't have anything like that when I was Chief Immigration Officer.
I don't either.
Look, I like the 3 stars as well.
Join us, OC.
Well, they look great, and by all indications, all of the staff are very pleased with their new uniforms. You know, there was always a degree of trepidation in any kind of change exercise, and, you know, the traditional whites were just that, traditional and, you know, very commonplace, a household name, if you will. But by all indications, staff are very, very pleased with their new uniforms, and if I do say so myself, they all look very sharp.
Okay, great. Where do we want to start?
Well, sir, really, today is about my colleagues to my left. We, after some 18 months of putting the various pieces in place, both the brand new units of Customs and Border Control and Work commenced on Friday, the 1st of February. Certainly the government, vis-a-vis the minister and the ministry, have done their part. The minister and ministry, working in collaboration, obviously wrote the policy. Working with our private sector partners, Deloitte, we crafted both the organizational and workflow charts. We amended the relevant legislation, voted and approved that legislation in the Legislative Assembly, set the commencement dates to the 1st of February, and now, after much anticipation, both Work and CBC are online, and this morning is entirely about the 2 new directors, their vision and their goals towards delivering what will be a world-class service.
Okay. Now, I know that the public are anxiously waiting to hear and to see, you know, what is out there, what will transpire, how things will be done, whether or not things will be different, and if they're different, how much different. So let's talk about that at first, the new face of Work, Ms. Rolston.
Well, I don't want to begin with bad news. For my department, we will not have any significant changes until we promised first quarter of this year. And so we're still on track for that. The current change in the legislation was basically to facilitate the split between the border control and enforcement functions of immigration to Mr. Clifford's responsibility. And I have inherited the permission side, so work permits, permanent residency applications, and Cayman status, and all matters that relate to the permission side of what we once knew as immigration now fall to me. So I have 1 foot in the current state and 1 foot in the future state for which I was hired to develop. And so right now we don't really, it'll be business as usual pretty much for us, except for the fact that now there is no more Chief Immigration Officer, sadly. I missed that title. But I have inherited those responsibilities as the Interim Director of Work. I know it's a bit confusing, but it was just because this split was not anticipated when Work was first being conceptualized.
Okay, let's talk about from, again, public perception from a practical standpoint. Before, if you had a work permit approved and you were entering the island, you could, if you had all of your documentation and everything, and you'd passed didn't need to do a language test or whatever, if you needed to do it, certain aspects could be handled at the port of entry, and then certain aspects of it may have had to be handled at the headquarters. How will things look in the future in those regards? Anything changes?
That's a good point, because actually that used to still fall under immigration, but for the permissions for 5 days or less, that now falls to the Border Control, so under Mr. Clifford's purview. All other work permits and temporaries, though, fall to work.
Okay. Mr. Clifford, anything you want to add to that, sir?
Yes, certainly. OC, good morning to you. Good morning to the listeners and those who are viewing us on television. Very much along the lines that Ms. Ralston just mentioned. We launched on Friday last week, February 1st. So that was the birth of the Cayman Islands Customs and Border Control Service. But as you know, we've appeared on this program in the past to talk about the merger and about the launch date. And we've made it clear on a number of occasions that this is a multi-year project. So we really are started on February the 1st. It's going to be, as Ms. Ralston indicated, business as usual for the most part. It's a multi-year transition. And so the primary focus during this early part is continuing the transition from what was, as you would appreciate, a gatekeeper's approach to the intelligence-led risk management approach. That's going to involve a tremendous amount of training, cross-training, acquisition of equipment, etc. But at the end of the day, the benefit will be for the public in the sense that we will be able to process passengers and cargo much more efficiently. We'll be much better at separating the high-risk passengers and the high-risk cargo from the legitimate passengers and legitimate cargo. And therefore, you will begin to see a number of efficiencies taking place that will be for the benefit of the general public. That will take some level of investment, which the government has graciously agreed to underwrite, so to speak. And it is now for us to begin to finalize our strategic plan to put all of that together. In most countries that's embarked on this type of change, this type of merger, it's been many, many years for them to complete it because it doesn't happen overnight. There's been a tremendous amount of work up until this date to prepare us for the launch. But there's a significant amount of work ahead to complete this merger and actually to begin to realize all the benefits of the merger. So in terms of managing expectations, we want to make sure that the public understand that this is, in fact, a multi-year project. And we ask for their patience as we work through this. They will see incremental benefits as we go through the process. And it started actually with some of the stuff we've already done at the airport, the establishment of the green channel and the red channel. And that's matured over time. You see it working a lot more efficiently now. Once we get to the full intelligence-led risk management strategy and have that fully implemented, a lot of the work will be done behind the scenes. The public won't see that. Those are details we can't get into because it would be counterproductive.
Yes.
But they will begin to realize that they're reaping benefits from that. So those are sort of my opening comments at this point.
Okay. So the immigration headquarters location will remain the same. It will still be immigration or part of customs and border controlled by you, Mr. Clifford. And if I wanted to find Mr. Clifford now, where will I find him? At his usual office or where?
Usual office at what was the former customs headquarters.
Okay.
On Owen Roberts Drive. So that's where my office will remain. Immigration, what used to be immigration headquarters, at this, as you would be familiar with, the center of the building is essentially occupied by work.
Okay.
And then on the two wings would be the CBC operations, the enforcement and the visas, etc. It's a little bit more mixed than that, but generally speaking, that's how it is at the moment. Office space and where people physically sit is something that we will give early consideration to because in CBC, as an example, everything is merged. So the former immigration enforcement and or CNAT unit, the Customs Narcotic Enforcement Unit, team, I should say, the two of those are now merged like everything else.
Okay.
So they're physical in different buildings at this point, but I just use that as an example to say we need to begin to look now at where we bring them together in one location at either of the two locations that we currently occupy.
Okay, we're going to take a break for our headline news at 9 o'clock. When we return, the conversation will continue with MLA and Councillor Mr. Austin Harris, Ms. Sharon Rolston, the interim director of work, and the new head of customs and border control in the Cayman Islands, Mr. Charles Clifford. I want to remind you that you can call us if you have any questions or observations. Call us on our toll-free number provided courtesy of Flo. That toll-free number is 1-800-534-8255. You can also call us on 949-8037 or 949-6990. Email us at For The Record. WhatsApp us on 925-3261. And if you just simply want to follow us, then subscribe to Radio Cayman live stream. Please stay tuned. For The Record, we'll be back immediately after headline news, which is very short.
Radio Cayman, maintaining the innovation.
On a daily basis, making it easy to connect with you, our listeners. Add us to WhatsApp today, 925-3261. That's 925-3261.
Radio Cayman.
Send a text or voice note.
Can I send a request, please?
You don't really have to ask us. Just send a request.
This is a shout out to my ex.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
Radio Cayman, maintaining the innovation.
Follow Radio Cayman on Twitter. All the latest information, breaking news, community events, and more. Follow us at twitter.com/Radio Cayman.
Radio Cayman.
Radio Cayman's newsroom. These are the biggest stories right now.
Community policing officers in 3 Boddentown neighborhoods host the department's first crime prevention workshops of 2019. During the presentation, officers demonstrated new and compact alarm devices for home and property, as well as pin alarms that can be worn while exercising outside to enhance personal safety. The UK, France, Germany, Spain, and other European countries have officially recognized opposition leader Juan Guaido as interim president of Venezuela. It comes after President Nicolas Maduro defiantly rejected the EU's Sunday deadline to call snap elections. Mr. Guaido declared himself interim leader last month and won U.S. backing. Atlanta rapper 21 Savage has been arrested by immigration officials who say he is actually from the United Kingdom. The rapper came to the U.S. in 2005, age 12, and failed to leave when his visa expired a year later. An Immigration and Customs Enforcement spokesman says he was being held for removal proceedings. He has previously described a childhood in Atlanta during interviews. Those are your headlines. I'm Karsley Fuller.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
What's happening in your community? News and information, music, and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matter. For the Record with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me we have the Director of Customs and Border Control in the Cayman Islands, Mr. Charles Clifford, the Interim Director of Work in the Cayman Islands, Ms. Sharon Rolston, and the Councillor. And when we get our constitutional amendments, I'm told that one of those things will be the Councillor, the terminology, nomenclature, Councillor will change to Parliamentary Secretary.
Yes.
Mr. Harris.
Yes.
So we have current Councillor and future Parliamentary Secretary, Mr. Austin Harris.
Let's not count those chickens before they're hatched yet, though. Maybe I'm just used to Councillor. Parliamentary Secretary is going to take some getting used to as well. But hey, change is a good thing. Certainly, again, it will be a pleasure to join you and to talk about what is really the good news of the Ministry of Human Resources and Immigration with the realization of both work and CBC. Again, I promised from the beginning that this would be a conversation about the two directors, and I certainly don't want to steal their thunder in any way. It is very much at this point their show. The minister and the ministry are still involved, as Mr. Clifford pointed out. There's the technological enhancements that are needed for both work and CBC, which will be central to delivering that world-class service. That work is still underway, but we hope by the end of the first or second quarter 2019 to have those ducks in a row, which will significantly enhance the efficiency and overall operation of both of these new units. But the general policy objective of the government is to efficiently enhance and streamline the current immigration process whilst providing an intelligence-driven border control. So from CBC, that means strengthening security and stability on the front lines, which we have every confidence both in the director, but also the very excited staff that make up the new Customs and Border Control. On the work side, that means delivering on the mission goal, which is full Caymanian employment, but also timely provision of overall labor needs to businesses in a timely and efficient manner. We want businesses to continue to operate. We don't want things to slow down. We want things to speed up. But certainly we also want at the same time to ensure that our Caymanians are afforded every opportunity, because that is what we promised to deliver on. So after almost 2 years of putting these plans from thought to paper to development, it is now a very exciting time for us. And whilst much of the services as the end user, the clients or customers, won't necessarily change too much, and that was by design, because we do not want our customers or clients to be inconvenienced by this transition. The goal is to be more efficient. So on the end side of things, the customers really shouldn't expect too many major changes, but hopefully in the delivery of those services, both in terms of time and efficiency, those changes will be felt most significantly. And I'm, again, very excited to have finally reached this point.
Okay. I have a question, and we don't necessarily prep people on here for questions, but and this would resonate with you, Ms. Rolston, as a lawyer and working in the financial services and industry. This whole issue of substantial presence with the OECD, if it comes into effect and based on what is deemed to be a substantial presence, it is expected that in the Cayman Islands we are likely to see more applications for work permits if those businesses that are established here in the Cayman Islands but not necessarily resident here in the Cayman Islands, that rather than basically having an office with one person or just simply a nameplate will have to have a substantial presence here. Are we being prepped for that in the event that were to occur? Because again, that will certainly change the whole dynamics of things, depending on how many companies decide to remain in the Cayman Islands. I know this is a little bit off the subject, but I think it's something that we need to be mindful of, and I'm sure that our politicians are mindful of as well.
Well, I think it would be a matter of timing, actually. If it were to happen right now, I think our already belabored staff would have a very difficult time coping. But certainly under the systems-driven work, which is the future state, we would be able to handle that without a hitch, because the systems, the automated process does most of the work. Okay. Most of the work is done before it ever actually reaches the site of an administrator, for example. So as long as an application comes to us, and it can't come to us unless it's fully completed. Okay. We don't have to be calling for files and going through the manual processes that exist currently. So that. It would be much more efficient. And I'm sure with our timelines that we would be able to handle that if that were the case. Okay. Let's hope it doesn't happen anytime soon. Okay.
But I just want to point out, and I think it's important, because while certainly you've raised the issue of substantial presence, which is integral, particularly to financial services, these are not jobs that traditionally displace Caymanians. These are jobs that are in professional categories that require, obviously significant both experience and educational background. These are not jobs that disadvantage Caymanians whatsoever. Yes, you may see an increase in the work permit numbers if that is the case, and it's a simple matter of, do we believe financial services are important for our economy, or do we not? This is not a question of work permits. It's a question of how our economy operates.
Yes.
But again, I state for the record, if and when this happens, these are jobs that will not disadvantage Caymanians. It will simply mean an opportunity for Caymanians, particularly those serving within financial services. Companies, offshore companies, traditionally do most of their administrative work in the Cayman Islands, but the majority of the decision-making takes place somewhere else. This need for substantial presence may put greater demands on the operational headquarters in the Cayman Islands. That'll take professional staff, and maybe that'll mean breaking through some of the glass ceilings for some of our professional Caymanians. But on the work permit side, as we stated from the very beginning, when we look at the redeployment of work, particularly in terms of talent management, when we see our technology solutions by way of a jobs clearinghouse come online, which is that database which outlines all of the labor needs and all of the labor players in the current Cayman Islands, then we figure out how we're going to, work on placement. As it exists today, 70%, and I've said this number before, 70% of the existing work permits that have existed are jobs that Caymanians can do. It's a question of what is keeping Caymanians out of those jobs, whether it be hospitality-related jobs. We're talking about some of the vocational jobs, which, let's face it, there are people who need AC services. We live on a tropical island. We all have ACs in our homes. Why is it that we aren't getting any Caymanians, attracted in these areas? So there are a number of positions that make up our current work permit regime that Caymanians can do, and we believe the talent management side of the new work unit will work towards addressing those.
Okay, well, while we were on the topic of numbers and workers, are we going to see any significant increases in terms of your staff complement, Ms. Rolston? And the same question for you to Mr. Clifford. Any significant changes in the staff complement? Any opportunities? I know that you've gone through the process in terms of trying to marry people up with particular jobs based on their particular skill set and stuff like that. Where are we with that, and how much further do we have to go?
That's something that we're still in. We have in progress. We had a little bit of a delay in our own recruitment because of the urgency of getting CBC up and running, or with their doors open.
Yes.
So that is ongoing. What I'm very happy to report is that we've. All of our top positions have come from either within immigration itself or certainly within the civil service. Yes. Very few of our jobs have we had to recruit outside. Currently, our head of finance is one that is being advertised externally, but that's because we had the finance department of immigration was already very almost a skeleton staff, and then we lost some key people to Mr. Clifford.
Poaching already?
But by and large, we will continue as we have always done.
You've lost some to work to.
That's true.
The good news is, though, both immigration and customs have traditionally been Caymanian organizations. Let's call it what it is.
Yes.
And at the the soft launch staff briefing we held, I think it was Wednesday. Thank you. One of the comments I made, and it was a matter of pride for me, because now obviously in the position of MLA in some respect a leadership position, but what was very inspiring to me, because I continue to be led more often. I get my guidance and my advice as to how this works from the professionals, the people who do the job every single day. But what was encouraging, if not inspiring to me as I was talking to the troops, if you will, is that they're all Caymanian faces. So yes, there's been some changes on the Customs and Border Control side. Yes, there's been some changes on the immigration side. But at the tangible core, there's still our Caymanians in these otherwise Caymanian organizations, and I don't see that changing anytime soon.
Mm-hmm. That's good to know, and I'm sure that the public really would be happy with that reassurance as well. Yes.
And then on the CBC side, Mr. Connor, it's it's essentially a merge of the border control components of immigration and the customs department. So if you would appreciate that fact, now that increases the numbers right there.
Yes.
As a result of the merger. But in addition to that, we've added a rank within the organization called the supervisory CBC officer. So just to give you a perspective on that, you have the director, the deputy director, assistant directors, and then below that are supervisory CBC officers, then senior CBC officers, and junior CBC officers. So within that rank structure, there is some opportunity now for advancement, an opportunity for better succession planning, because as you know, that's near and dear to me.
Yes.
We have it's something that in addition to everything else that we're focusing on, I need to focus on with some degree of urgency, because what we have is an organization that has a lot of people with similar tenure, similar age. So we need to begin to think about that carefully. How are we going to approach that? How are we going to prepare the organization, every rank structure, position within the organization for advancement, so that in every rank within CBC, there is someone waiting to move up the next step. And that's how you ensure that you continue with Caymanian leadership and Caymanian management team within the organization.
Okay, let's take a commercial break. When we return, the conversation with MLA and Councillor Mr. Austin Harris, Interim Director of Work, Ms. Sharon Rolston, and the Director of Customs and Border Control in the Cayman Islands, Mr. Charles Clifford. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
It was a day that changed my life. No words can describe the feelings of seeing my baby boy sick for the first time. The overwhelming feeling of fear to be responsible for his health and happiness became my priority. So I did what any nurturing mother would do when their baby is sick. I took him to get some of the best medicine possible.
CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy understands the importance of careful decisions you make every day for your family. Our staff work towards healthcare excellence and providing the most current and up-to-date training with pharmaceutical care, so you can feel confident in knowing that your family is safe with the right medication. At CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy, we take care of your health.
Since 1993, Rotary Central has worked diligently each year to provide quality bus shelters to our community. A traveling convenience to our school children, the elderly, young people going to work, guest workers, and visitors using the public bus. We, Rotary Central, help you, our advertisers, make it happen. Your marketing dollar travels a far way. Positioning your message, your product, your services, your presence in over 83 bus shelters. Every dollar you spend, every advert you place helps to build another bus shelter, providing modest comfort for Cayman travelers. Reserve space now on the only billboard medium in the Cayman Islands. Email rotaryshelters@gmail.com. rotaryshelters@gmail.com. The Bus Shelters, a partner in community convenience. Another inspiration program by Rotary Central Cayman Islands.
Super Jam Showdown.
For those of you that think that gospel music has gone too far.
Positive Monday. Population Tuesday. Latino Heat Wednesday to Thursday, back the hands of time.
Supersonic.
Slide. Day Friday, Brack Party Block Top 10 Count to Female Friday.
Radio Cayman Super Jam Showdown. Weekdays, 3 to 6.
Brought to you by
City Wok, Cayman's newest Asian-style cuisine. The way it was meant to be.
Dine in, take out, or make your order online at citywok.ky.
Call 947-9965.
Carifta Games 2019 is coming to Cayman, April 20th to the 22nd. The Carifta Organizing Committee will be holding a volunteer drive on Thursday, February 7th at the Sci-Fec Hall from 5 to 7 p.m. Learn about these iconic games and the various areas that you can serve as volunteer and ambassador. Positions range from ushers to translators, liaison officers, and many more. Further information available at CaymanCarifta2019.ky.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matter. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me, MLA and Councillor Mr. Austin Harris. Interim, and we say that hesitatingly, interim, we're going to, for the show, we're going to remove it. We're going to call it Director of Work, Ms. Sharon Rolston, and Director of Customs and Border Control in the Cayman Islands, Mr. Charles Clifford. And we have some comment from our listeners as well. It says, of course, Mr. Clifford is from hometown, Bordentown. And I just have to congratulate him on a job well done. Though politics was his role, but following him, I feel he's now seated in the right chair. Best of luck controlling our borders. To Mr. Austin, I say you have always been exuberant in strength and getting things done. Thank you. But Miss Rolston, I take off my hat to your strength. Good to have not judge your book by the cover. Wishing you another 2 years of success. So we got nothing but plaudits for all of you. Indeed. As well. And
that just reminded Mr. Clifford started off actually. Politics was just sort of the middle road, but certainly he was that faithful civil servant in the first instance, and did a stellar job. So it's really a coming back home for Mr. Clifford, but without a doubt, I've seen this in my short time there. There's a value of having someone who understands the political challenges and opportunities, but likewise can bridge that gap with the on-the-ground, frontline civil servants who really are, and I say this not just because I'm surrounded by them, because it's a fact, they really are world-class already. And really our selection in the two directors that we have with us today, in my mind, is what ensures the kind of delivery on our objectives and goals because of the years of experience and the individuals that sit with us.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, I want to make sure that we cover every item that you want to talk about. And anything else that you want to add, Mr. Clifford? And then we'll come around to Ms. Sharon.
Well, certainly, I want to say that I'm honored and pleased that I've been selected for this role. I am comforted by the fact that I'm going to be leading a team of very dedicated, hardworking and professional officers. Mm-hmm. And I'm pleased to say that the very first arrest by CBC was on the weekend for a female traveller coming in with a firearm at Owen Roberts International Airport.
American again?
I think the person was American. I don't have all the details at this point. But I just want to commend officers who were involved in that interdiction. Yes. But again, there are a lot of things that goes on behind the scenes that the public won't necessarily know about that result in these things, these types of successes. But our officers work extremely hard, and I want to certainly thank them sincerely for their effort. One of the things we want to do fairly early in the process is to combine the entry and landing form with the customs declaration form. Mm-hmm. So that will be one of the efficiencies that the public will see. And I want to take the opportunity now to remind the public that if you're coming in and you're under your allowances, that you do not need to fill out the customs declaration part of the form. Mm-hmm. Or in this case, before we merge the two, you don't have to fill out the customs declaration form unless you're over your allowances. So that is something we wanted to take the opportunity to underscore. But we will begin to roll out more efficiencies, as I said earlier, over time. Yeah.
Okay, Ms. Wilson.
Thank you, O.C. I would just like to say that I cannot thank our staff enough for their resilience during a very difficult process. They've gone through not only the change of their jobs being uncertain or what the future held for them, but also they were parting company, so to speak, with colleagues they'd worked side by side with. And so there were those emotional ties as well. Now, nothing's really going to change for the short term, but still it's an emotional process that they have to go through, knowing that they're going separate ways. So I just want to say kudos to them. It's been a very tumultuous period during the recruitment stage because work is so different from what we do currently that we couldn't transition someone from a post they're currently into a new post as was done with the merger. This is all new territory. It's all new territory for all of us. And having to rely on a system that we don't even know yet, there's a lot of, I guess, intelligent guesswork going into how it is going to look in the future state. But I can assure the public that future state is going to be radically different. That's what the Premier asked for, and that's what the public will get. The efficiencies that will be created under work will benefit not just the public, but it'll also benefit the staff. And I keep saying to them, you work hard now, but so much of what you do is it's so labor intensive, and they're long hours, and they have to work weekends. And not a lot of people appreciate that what happens, even though it's not efficient, these are still people working weekends to just try to keep up with what they have. So future state will be much better for them as well. I think they'll have better quality of life because they won't have to be working such extensive hours. But I would also like to say that just be patient with us, because currently you will not see much of a change. Even when you go to headquarters to submit your applications, there'll be signs that say work and signs that say CBC, and some signs still say immigration. If you closed your eyes and you took a number and you went in there, you wouldn't know. You wouldn't really know that anything is any different. So just for the time being, everything is going to be the same. But hopefully, mid-year, the public will see some significant changes when work starts to take shape. And so those are going to be exciting times, and I think the public and our staff will be pleasantly surprised at what we're creating.
Now, one of the major concerns of the public, the individual, as well as the corporate citizen, is a customer-friendly environment. How will your new processes in terms of electronic processes cater to a customer-friendly environment as well as the face-to-face public contact?
Well, we have a number of ways that we can speak to the public, but most of the time, someone submitting an application will have access to their own records. And so there may be very little need to contact work. But if you do, you can do that via telephone, the traditional way. You can do it on our website. You can do it through a chat. I was in a meeting last week with some of the systems developers talking about the various telephonic options that blew me away. So we're working on those. And I can safely say that no one contacting work will not have some response immediately. It would have to be a very, very challenging and difficult question or situation that they would put to us that we couldn't handle immediately. And we're already in the process of training our staff in customer care, because when we asked them, what do you want your organization to look like, that was the overwhelming response, that we want to be customer service centric. We want to be the absolute best government department because of our customer service. Yeah. So we've been starting the training, and that's being led by our own leaders that we put into management posts. And so it's been very well received by the staff. And those are little changes that we can make now. And we've encouraged our staff, when you answer the telephone, when you greet the person coming to headquarters, wear a smile and be as helpful as you possibly can, because we can change the culture starting now with little steps such as that.
Connor, if I could also say that we have also focused quite heavily on customer service. It is something also that I believe in, delivering excellent customer service. And my message consistently to my officers have always been that, yes, it is possible to be effective border control officers and also deliver great customer service. Yes. And we've seen that come out. The happy or not kiosks at the airport, they've been consistently over 90% in terms of happy people coming through our controls. With all the changes that's taken place in a relatively short period of time in relation to the customs forum, the green channel, the red channel, despite all of that and the fears that some people had that revenue would go down, interdiction would be affected, the truth is, as we predicted, the opposite has happened. Yeah. Revenue has gone up, and we've arrested more people. We've seized more firearms and drugs. And despite all of that, people seem to be happier than before. That's a good thing.
That's a very good thing. Yeah. One of our listeners wanted to know, in terms of the pre-clearance from Miami, will that continue, and any expectations of further expansion?
Well, it will continue. We're kind of reluctant to talk about an expansion of that program because based on our discussion earlier on this program and on previous occasions, we've focused quite heavily on technology and how we're going to use technology to be more efficient. So the truth is, once we've fully rolled out all of those improvements and efficiencies, Grand Cayman itself will become a fast track for everybody. Because to try to roll out the program that we have in Miami at all of our gateways, we just don't have the resources to do that. But the efficiencies that we will get from all of the new technology and the new strategies and change in business processes will deliver those same efficiencies that we see at Miami. We'll deliver them here at home.
Okay. Mr. Harris, you get to have the last word.
Certainly. Thank you very much. Again, it is a pleasure to work with such fine individuals as Mr. Charles Clifford and Ms. Sharon Ralston. And again, I'm motivated by what is coming down the pipeline. As we stated before, whilst a lot of change exercises have been taking place simultaneously, from the public perspective, we hoped to keep things as unchanged as possible in the short term. But without a doubt, the major investment that the government is making, and certainly the focus for the next 3 to 6 months, will be on the technology solution, the enhancement of our online systems, the creation of a labor database that is integrated so that it can be shared between the relevant departments as necessary, both from an entry standpoint as well as from a labor standpoint. The online systems specific to work will see the creation of the Jobs Clearinghouse or portal, which again, as we've stated, will require that every job vacancy be posted with the Jobs Clearinghouse. That'll give us the opportunity to see at a glance what does our labor market look like both now in the short term, medium term, and the long term. We can look at them seasonal. We can look at them in terms of succession planning. Okay, we've got work permits that are coming due, rollover periods that are coming due. How are we preparing to replace those persons and those skill sets with Caymanians? That will involve working with the education department and the schools. We're rolling out career days with some of our private sector stakeholders. Again, I want to acknowledge a few of them, the Society of Human Resource Professionals, the Chamber of Commerce, all very key stakeholders that have been involved in the process from the beginning. But one of the, I think, probably the biggest measurement for success in both work and CBC will be the fact that this has been from a ground-up exercise, not top-down. So we have involved our staff and our personnel. They have provided valuable feedback in terms of, this is how I did the job, this is what made the job difficult, these would be the kind of improvements that would make our lives easier. So we listened and we delivered on that, and as a result, we now have two solid Caymanian teams that are working with renewed vigor and commitment towards the end goal of, again, delivering a world-class civil service, something that the Deputy Governor has promised and certainly the government is absolutely determined to see delivered. But above all, to see an improvement on these two key frontline services. And I particularly like the point that Mr. Clifford made, because these days I travel a lot. And it is possible to do an efficient job of border security without the sour look on your face. We have to remember that we're in the tourism business. In many cases, the frontline staff of the Customs and Border Control is the first Caymanian face that many of our arriving tourists see. We want their visit to be a memorable one, to be an enjoyable one which they come back, but also one in which they feel confident and safe in traveling, that, boy, these Caymanians have this under control. And we very much do. So from the public standpoint, we will try to make this change exercise as painless as possible. There will be a few ripples in the road. We're not, we're not kidding ourselves, but I'm confident. We're confident that we have the right people and the right resources in place to overcome those challenges. And again, we have one of the most committed teams that I've ever had the pleasure of working with. So I just can't wait for tomorrow to come and see what else is rolled out.
Yeah. Before I let you go, and I say that you had the final say, but I know Ms. Ralston mentioned something earlier, and one of our callers who didn't stay online but wanted to know, didn't want to go online, they wanted to know about the contacting someone in immigration, they talked about immigration, as it was then. Getting someone as opposed to getting a voicemail. And you did speak about the fact that one way or the other, a person will be able to gain the information, make contact with someone there. So I'll give you an opportunity to repeat what you said earlier in that regard.
It's a good question because I, too, have a difficult time getting through, believe it or not. So it's something that I'm very, very cognizant of. The difficulty for our call center is that they're also very thin on the ground. They work very, very hard, but they just can't get to the number of calls that come in. Many of them don't publish their direct line. Because in some respects you don't want them getting just the frivolous calls as well. But that is something that we're going to do, have more direct opportunities to get to someone. Again, they may get voicemail for the same reason because they're just unable to keep up. Yeah. But it's something that we're working on, and in a few months we won't be having that problem. So just bear with us, just hang in there, and just, understand the fact that everyone really and truly is doing their very best. It's just that the volume compared to the staff levels are significantly different, and but it's something that I'm sure in work with our systems and the advances in technology, it'll be a much better experience.
Excellent. I want to wish all of you all the best, and just bear in mind that whenever you need to get information out there, For the Record will be available for you to do that as well. Folks, please stay tuned. We still have another 25 minutes because remember now we go until 10 o'clock. We're going to have open mic. I'm going to share a few things with you as well, but we also want to hear from you. So For the Record, we'll be back shortly.
It's 2019, and you know what they say, new year, new me?
Yeah, Bobo. For me, it's new year, new car.
For real? What you thinking of buying?
The new RAV4 from Vant Motors. It's one of the safest compact SUVs out there with enough room inside, which is good for my family and convincing my wife we need this. Plus, it's fuel efficient, fun to drive, and on top of that, it's on sale too.
Yeah, and I hear it's one of the best-selling SUVs on the market.
Cause you don't gotta spend more to do more. That's why I'm gonna get mine now, while they have a new stock to select from.
Do more in your RAV4. Save thousands on the all-new 2019 RAV4. Test drive yours today and see why the RAV4 is a best-selling SUV in Cayman. Available only at Vant Motors, Walkers Road.
Since 1993, Rotary Central has worked diligently each year to provide quality bus shelters to our community. A traveling convenience to our school children, the elderly, young people going to work, guest workers, and visitors using the public bus. We, Rotary Central, help you, our advertisers, make it happen. Your marketing dollar travels a far way. Positioning your message, your product, your services, your presence in over 83 bus shelters. Every dollar you spend, every advert you place helps to build another bus shelter, providing modest comfort for Cayman travelers. Reserve space now on the only billboard medium in the Cayman Islands. Email rotaryshelters@gmail.com. rotaryshelters@gmail.com. The Bus Shelters, a partner in community convenience. Another inspiration program by Rotary Central Cayman Islands.
Hi, I'm Colin Lumsden, the Georgetown manager and head of the Revitalization Initiative. Our capital city is the heart of business activities in the Cayman Islands, and we would like to bring it back as a center of social activities, with streetside cafes, green spaces, improved roads, and proper walkways for interconnectivity. The new cruise and cargo port is part of the plan and will allow for operators to meet passengers dockside with less lines and overcrowding. Cargo operations will be less intrusive. There will be pedestrianized areas for people to safely walk, shop, and dine. Modernizing the cruise and cargo port is a key element in the efforts to revitalizing our capital city.
For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the Record with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. Starting on Friday, we extended the show to 10 o'clock and people were very happy to hear that. And I'm glad that you're happy, and I now encourage you to participate either through listening or through calling in. If you call in, then I'll have less to talk about and more for you to talk about as well. I have been the beneficiary of beneficiary of a folder that has been loaned to me by Miss Zeta May Bawden, and I want to give her kudos and credit for this. She has compiled a list, a folder with all of the Compass's publications, and they have a section in there called 50 Years Ago. She has compiled them. She has them sorted by the various districts and also by the dates. And what I'm going to try to do, as long as I'm able to keep this, couple that with my copies, my electronic copies of the Tradewinds newspaper going back to 1965, 66, and I think I may have some 1967 as well, and try to choose dates that are close to the date that I'm actually broadcasting, if not on the same date, and to either read or paraphrase what was published. So for the Compass, this one published January the 25th, 2017, and it says 50 years ago. And it says here on in the February 1st, 1967 edition of the Caymanian Weekly, a precursor of the Caymanian Compass, Cayman Brac correspondent Lillian Rich wrote, and the title of that is Secondary Modern School Opens in the Brac. So those of you 50 years ago, if you were involved in the secondary modern school in the Brac on that date, you will remember this as well. And she writes that the doors of secondary modern education opened to the children of Cayman Brac on the 23rd at 8:30 a.m. when 73 children attended. Says the members of staff are Principal Mr. Lehman Eminel Scott, who was born in Sportbrae, Cayman Brac in 1931, started his schooling with Miss Melly McLaughlin, now Mrs. Caswell Robinson. He then went to Montego Bay, Jamaica, where he attended elementary school and St. James High School, obtaining the Cambridge School Certificate in 1949. In 1950 and 1951, he attended the business school of Miss Lena Levy, Montego Bay, and St. James College, Falmouth, pursuing mainly courses in accounting. And it goes on to say, deciding on making a career, he attended Micro Training College in 1952, gained his teacher's certificate and joined the Cayman Islands Teaching Service in 1956 at West Bay School. In 1965, he felt the need for expansion and resigned in that account. Turning to Canada, he applied to the Canadian Board of Education, which granted him a certificate to teach on the basis of his professional qualifications. He holds a bachelor's diploma from the Ministry of Education in Jamaica. says Mr. Scott has been 6 months in Canada and was principal of Allen Bigwood School in Canada, in Ontario, yes, where he was recalled by the Cayman Islands government to take up his present post. So he spent time in Canada and then was recalled by the Cayman Islands government to take up his post. It says Mr. George H. Wood, that would be Mr. George Hartwell Wood of Bordentown, Grand Cayman, who obtained his schooling at the Bordentown Primary School to the third Jamaica Local Certificate. It says after a period at sea, he returned home and taught at West Bay for 1 year, accepting a scholarship to Microtraining College. He graduated in June 1966. His elective subjects were geography, economics, and arts and craft. And he won the Case Cup for art for his graduating class. We have a caller, so I'm going to interrupt my reading there and take the caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record. Good morning, caller. Welcome to For the Record. I'm not hearing anyone. Good morning, caller. Okay, I'll continue to read. And then it goes on to say Miss Joan Hughes, who came to the Cayman Islands in 1966 under the British Voluntary Program. You heard me speak previously about the VSO service. Born in 1934, she was educated at the Convent of the Sacred Heart in Newcastle on Tyne, England. In 1951, she took drama training in London and worked as an actress until 1958. Choosing teaching as a career, Miss Hughes entered St. Mary's College in Benham from 1958 to 1960, and on leaving college, taught for 6 years at the Convent of the Sacred Heart, Newcastle. Miss Virginia Tibbetts was born in Trinidad in May of 1951. After schooling began at the West End Primary Cayman Brac and Phillip Street Private School, Trinidad. At 10 years, she entered the Jamaica Local Center here, and at 12 was accepted at the Bob Jones Academy, Greenville, South Carolina. I'm going to interrupt again to see if we can take the caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Well, good morning, Mr. Connor. Good morning to your guest. We having it there.
No guest now. You're my guest now.
Well, I haven't been getting to listen to you last some days. Been kind of extremely busy, so thank God for that.
Okay.
But I want to congratulate you guys because I didn't know you had got extended till 10 o'clock.
Yep, I went to immigration and got an extension.
I tell you, but that's why. Or everything else. Because everything to be Caymanians, but I don't know if you'll make it. I don't know what the topic is about, so I happened to just turn on the radio, moving back and forth, and heard you still on. I looked up at the time and I said, it is 4:10. What is going on here? I said, let me call or say congratulate him for extending his time.
Yeah, we're going to have to take on an ad in the newspapers and do more to publicize this whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, I know you need to get this on WhatsApp. I mean, you need to put this on Facebook and make everybody know, because
I may even get my ugly mug on the front page or something.
Nothing wrong with that either. I mean, somebody got to stand out. So we want to congratulate you for working so hard to be able to achieve that, because we needed that for a long time.
Thank you very much.
Nothing happens before it's time, so
Yeah,
I want you guys. I don't know what the topic was on this morning. So
well, I'll tell you what we had. Initially, we had people on here. We were talking about the National Gallery and this exhibition that they were going to have with local artists. And I think that runs in the National Gallery. It runs an exhibit. It's called the First Cayman Islands Biennial exhibit, 42 artists, exhibition and works. It starts on Saturday the 9th of February and runs through to the 4th of May. And it's going to be taken to the sister islands and everything else. So a lot of local arts and stuff like that. And then we had people from the Cancer Registry on talking about the Cayman Islands Cancer Registry. And the last segment, we had MLA Mr. Austin Harris, the Director of Work, Ms. Sharon Rolston, and the Director of Customs and Border Control in the Cayman Islands, Mr. Charles Clifford. And now we have open mic until 10 o'clock. But we have to take a commercial break, so if you want to stay on. But I've given you a rundown of what has happened so far this morning. And right now I'm just reading from the from the Caymanian Compass and from their section that they had on 50 years ago, and this was 50 years ago, 21st of January 2017, talking about the opening of the secondary modern school in Cayman Brac, and I was reading about the names of the teachers there and their qualifications as well. But right now we have to take a break, so please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
Can you explain what a less than container load is for shipment and what your minimum charge is?
Sure. A less than container load, or LCL, is any overseas shipment that does not require the full space of a container. At Seaboard, we have great rates for small packages. Just let us know the dimensions of your package and we'll help you out from there.
Shipping shore to shore, Seaboard.
Hi, my name is Neraya LeBlanc. I am the minister and evangelist to the West Bay Church of Christ on 24 Batabano Road. I would love to take this opportunity to invite you to experience God's family at West Bay for yourself. We are a caring congregation that strongly believes in reaching out beyond ourselves to spread the gospel of Christ. We also take great pleasure in ministering to the needs of our people in our community. As God's called out kingdom people, we are in the business of transforming lives for the Master's use. For more information, you can visit our website at westbaycichurchofchrist.org or call us at 946-9294 or 917-1809.
Declaring the word of the Lord.
Cayman Islands Church of Christ presents Word of the Lord.
Word of the Lord, heard Sundays at 6:30 p.m. on Radio Cayman. Join Radio Cayman for Seat 40 with Bob Kingsley.
Hi, this is Bob Kingsley, and this weekend on the countdown, the 40 hottest hits on the radio right here.
CT40.
This here's Saturday afternoon.
From 12:15 until 3:30.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. No guests in the studio, and want to remind you, For the Record now will go on starting from Friday the 1st of February. We're extended until 10 o'clock. So the hours for the record now will be from 7:30 a.m. until 10 a.m. Those of you who know about it, tell your friends, let them know as well, and we will do a better job here on Radio Cayman of advertising that fact as well. I'm reading from one of the columns in the Compass, 21st of January 2017, 50 years ago, secondary modern school opens in the Brac. This has been provided courtesy of Miss Zita Mae Borden, who has loaned me a folder that she has compiled all of these. She has them sorted by the various districts and by the dates as well. So I'm reading from the 1st of February. Would have loved to have done this on Friday, but I received this from her on Friday morning. A big surprise when I got it, and I was all excited about it. So we talked about some of the teachers the first teachers at the secondary modern school in the BRAC, Mr. Mr. Scott, Mr. George H. Wood, Miss Joan Hughes, and daughter of the soil also, Miss Virginia Tibbetts, and I'll continue to read about Miss Virginia Tibbetts. She was accepted at Bob Jones Academy, Greenville, South Carolina, and I could tell you more about Bob Jones Academy, but that would be, or Bob Jones University, but that would be for another date and another time, because that part could be controversial, and we just want to keep it as simple as possible this morning. It says here, Miss Tibbetts graduated from Bob Jones Academy in Greenville, South Carolina. The youngest ever from the school, having done summer school for 2 years so that she could graduate in 3 rather than 4 years. She majored in social studies and is graduating, receiving the Spanish award for the class. It says this school was erected, that is a secondary modern school. This school was erected by a grant from the Colonial Development Fund from the United Kingdom, from Britain they called it at that time, at an approximate cost of £20,000, and was supervised by Mike Griffiths, VSO, civil engineer. Says work commenced with the cutting of the site February 1966. Foundation was poured in May. Construction continued with a very small labor force due to the many other construction projects underway. In November, a larger force became available, and the work was completed in December of 1966. So there you have the history of the commencement of secondary modern school in Cayman Brac, provided to you through the Compass. 50 years ago today, compliments of Miss Zeta Mae Borden from her collection. And I know many of you have collections out there as well in relation to complications, and we encourage you to sign them. I have to go very quickly because now that they've given me an extra half an hour, I have no excuse for going over the time, and we have a caller. So let's take that caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, Charles Watler here. I've been listening to you this morning.
Good morning, Mr. Watler. How are you, sir? Happy New Year to you.
And I called to congratulate Sharon and also Mr. Clifford.
Yes, sir.
I have served with Sharon, and I know her quite well.
Mm-hmm.
And the government could not have chosen a better person to head up work than she. And I would like to say, in fairness, let the expatriates know that while Sharon is there, they have nothing to fear because she's a fair person.
Mm-hmm.
She's going to look at the situation and determine what needs to be done. So expatriates or Caymanians will get a fair deal with Sharon.
Yeah. Before you go, Mr. Watler, I know you're talking about Miss Sharon and everything, and you serve with her, but you also serve with several chairpersons of the Immigration Board as well. I think starting off with the late Mr. Ormond Panton, right? One of our national heroes.
Correct. And in respect to that, I would like to say this:
mm-hmm.
that on all the decisions that we made while I was serving with Miss Rolston, there was only one decision that we differed on in the number of years I was serving with her.
Okay.
And at the end, when I got some further information after we made a decision, I want to say, and I told her this, that I was wrong and that she was right. So She is a good candidate. Government could not have found a better candidate.
Mm-hmm. Yep. She's
head up work.
Yep.
And in regards to Mr. Clifford, a long time ago when immigration lost their chief, I phoned up Mr. Manderson one evening, and he was aboard the warship, and he took my call, and I said, why don't you send Mr. Clifford down there for 6 months at least? He said, well, we're working on something now, but it'll take a little while. But, you know, it took over a year. It's been over a year ago I had that conversation, so at least it materialized in a year.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. They always say that nothing will happen before it's time, right?
Mr. Clifford, we're looking for great things from you. We have a lot of respect for you, and I'm sure you will carry it out to the best of your ability. And Sharon, good luck, and I know you will take care of things for Caymanians, and you'll look after the expatriates fairly.
Thank you very much for that, Mr. Watley. Thank you very much. Folks, I want to thank you for allowing Radio Cayman and, by extension, For the Record, into your homes, into your vehicles as you traverse the busy roads of the Cayman Islands, into your places of work, whether it be an office cubicle or if you're working in the outdoors. I also want to remind you that we are our brothers and our sisters' keepers. There is always someone out there who's less fortunate than we are, and I ask you to extend a helping hand to them. If you can't do that, then I suggest you donate to We're the Charity, because we always want to consider those who need, not necessarily those who want or even those who crave. I say to you, have a great day. Continue to support your radio station. Join Sterling, Dwayne Ebanks at 12 noon for Talk Today. Join me again on Wednesday for the Record. And of course, we go on till 10 o'clock. And as usual, we ask the good Lord to bless these three beautiful, wonderful Cayman Islands.
For the Record is brought to you by Vamped Motors, the only authorized Ford and Toyota dealership serving the Cayman Islands. Cayman Pharmacy Group, with a location in West Bay and professional pharmacy at CTMH Doctors Hospital. The Cayman Pharmacy Group has a location for you just around the corner. Seaboard Marine, with over 35 shipping ports, find your shipping solution by calling 949-4977 or visit seaboardmarine.com for competitive rates. And Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects.
From district to district, moving through the waters to Cayman Brac and Little Cayman. Your station, your voice. All things Cayman. One radio, many people. This is home.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.